Disrupt and grow, that's the theme of KPMG's 2017 CEO Outlook Report. We're in conversation with Arun Kumar, Chairman and CEO of KPMG in India. So disrupt and grow, I mean, that's the title of the report. And our last point brings me to this, what I want to talk about, which is larger companies by definition will find it difficult to kind of react to a new technology. I mean, there is this big, it's like a big bus which has to turn. It can't happen very quickly, whereas smaller companies can adapt and take it to the market much more, in a much more quicker way. Do you get that sense here as well, or?
It's true, and that's why alliances become so important. That's why large companies need to build those alliances, those small, agile companies that are at the forefronts of these new technologies or new opportunities.
So in India, in your opinion, over the next 3 years, will we see lots of those kind of acquisitions, larger companies, well-established giants, maybe in the consumer sector or whatever? I mean, they're picking up these small niche companies for what they bring to the table, especially on the technology side.
I would expect that to happen very much. I mean, first of all, India is a very strong entrepreneurial environment. There's a lot of innovation coming out of here. Indian companies have been picked up by global companies. There is no reason why large Indian companies won't pick up other Indian companies. In fact, it's going to be a source of great competitive advantage if they do that.
Sure. Which sectors really do you think will get disrupted the most in a way?
In terms of sectors, I think financial services, clearly the payments, inclusive payment systems, we're already seeing that. But other interesting sector, when I'm seeing tremendous change, I don't know if it's disruption, but maybe disruption, is the whole e-governance sector.
Okay.
The Aadhaar is a prime example. But more than that, online approvals. States are competing with each other to say that you can get all your permits online. I mean, these are quite important changes that may not be completely visible to everybody, but they're very important changes. So I think governance is an area where we will see change and possibly disruption.
Is there an opportunity for the private sector there, in a way?
There's a huge opportunity for the private sector to help with designing systems, putting in all these new technology-based processes. I think other areas looking a bit forward might be areas like healthcare and education, where digital technologies can contribute a lot.
I mean, actually, the biggest sort of, in a way, revolution which we've had is in the telecom space here in the country, most recently.
That's right.
Not everyone will agree it's been for the best. Some would say it's been a race to the bottom, at least in terms of tariffs. But do you see those kind of big disruptions in any other industries? I mean, a big competitor coming in, disrupting, or maybe even a smaller guy coming in with a new technology which kind of just throws off the balance in that particular sector?
I don't know if it would be disruptive in that nature, but transformative, yes. Like e-governance, I think, is very much something that will be transformational. I think education is another area where it can be transformational. But will they disrupt existing mechanisms? In some cases, yes. In some cases, deservedly, yes.
So you've co-founded 3 technology companies in the Valley in your career. As you see Indian companies and you talk to CEOs, do you find that they are technologically attuned to the changing needs? And they got the structure in place, the people that they can sort of lean on to take them through to these sort of new ways of doing business?
Well, the survey tells us that there's a great recognition of the importance of technology, that CEOs are going to invest in a big way in digital infrastructure to cope with these new needs, that they're looking for the skill sets that these new technologies will demand. So there is definitely a focus. Now, it also, but if you compare the focus here in India with the focus from our global survey, and there's a greater focus among global CEOs by a few points. But there's definitely a focus here, and just globally, there may be more focus elsewhere.
I mean, for example, IT services companies here in the country, they're all talking about digital revenues. I mean, some have even started giving out numbers that 15% of our revenues is digital. Now, but what exactly is digital and what constitutes digital is clear in some way, but not entirely. But there is this, of course, this way, sort of race to rebrand everything digital. I mean, is that?
Well, also actually doing things in a different way, like in our own business. The number of things that we would provide as hourly services that we can now use technology for, using artificial intelligence, for example. We can do more and faster than we would do with human beings doing the work. So that is actually a change that's happening. So you see that across the board that the way services are delivered will change. But even other things like e-commerce is coming to retail. In Bombay, you can order your groceries on the web. I mean, these are
changes which
quite
have
important
happened
changes.
Let's move on to cybersecurity. I mean, how big a sort of area of focus is that for companies, and where does it figure in the list of priorities?
So globally, last year it was number one in terms of risks that global CEOs identified. And this year it dropped to number 5, hopefully because people began to work on mitigating actions. In India, it is in the top 5 in terms of risks that Indian CEOs perceive. It's seen as an issue of concern at the board level. It's seen as an issue that cannot be just left to the IT department. It's got to be executive responsibility at the top of the house. That said, over 50% of Indian CEOs stated that they were not quite ready to deal with cyber threats. 45% felt they were ready, but that leaves over half not ready. That's quite an important issue, which really means that there's got to be more urgency in addressing cybersecurity risks.
And this is, again, I mean, smaller companies across the board, cap curve. I mean, there's no real difference in terms of...
Not really. We didn't see any particular difference.
But do you feel that, I mean, the way business is done here, it is justified that cybersecurity should figure at the top 5, but not the top? I mean, it should figure somewhere there, but
I think it should figure quite a lot in India because, social media and use of mobile phones and all kinds of applications is very prevalent, certainly among people who work in companies. And all those are kind of danger points. So it's got to be very important. It's got to be as important here as anywhere. The reputational risk is enormous if data from a company leaks out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it can be worse. The company's operations can be halted by some disruptive attack.
Sure. Just to kind of sort of sum it up, what do you list as the top 3 sources of opportunity that's came through via this CEO Outlook report? Sources of opportunity, really, as CEOs see it?
I would say technology would be the biggest source of opportunity. In fact, the whole theme of the report was disrupt and grow.
Yes.
So CEOs are not trying to be defensive about disruption. They're saying, let's be the disruptors. So using technology particularly as a way to disrupt business models and win in that process.
Their own business model and...
their own and
better be them than somebody else.
Better be disrupted than, absolutely. Better be disrupted than be disrupted.
Okay. What are the others? I mean, sources of sort of opportunity?
Technology will be the one place where I would say offensive action is what CEOs are thinking about. The others are a bit more defensive, like how do you work around the geopolitical changes that we see.
Okay.
A third one would be skill set.
Okay.
Because as things change, you've got to keep on upgrading your skill set. And as I'm fond of saying, as the Red Queen said to Alice in Wonderland, you've got to run as fast as you can to stay in place. You've got to run twice as fast if you want to get anywhere. Absolutely. I think CEOs do see the urgency of change. So you see them investing in skill set development. I think over 40% of CEOs...
I think the report does point out that is a big area of challenge, finding the right people.
It's a very big area of challenge. In fact, the report also says that over 80% of CEOs themselves took some kind of a course, some kind of a program over the last year.
In a way.
So they're skilling themselves. So they realize viscerally the importance of growing and reskilling. And they see that it applies across the organization.
In terms of the top sources of risk, what would you, the top 3, what would they be?
Well, according to the survey, the top risk was operational risk, running your operations. Which is a normal risk that CEO should be concerned about. A second risk was emerging technologies, being blindsided by some technology. And the third was cybersecurity.
Otherwise, the baseline is that demand is going to be strong for a number of years. The market is well suited for aggressive growth if you take care of some of these risks that we're talking about.
90% of CEOs felt confident about their company's growth prospects.
Mr. Kumar, it's a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for coming to our studios and sharing your thoughts on the report. Thanks indeed.
Well, thank you, Prashant.
Thank you.